So we need to welcome him to Champaign-Urbana. We're glad he's here. And to begin with, the warm-up act was Jay Carpenter-Thompson, who is who is an MD PhD student in my lab and is finishing his third year and is beginning to work on his final dissertation topic. So this is part, he will talk about his research which leads to the studies that we are going to just begin as of today. So,
thank you very much, Dr. Sen. As you said, I'm Jake Carpenter-Thompson. I am an MD PhD student at the University of Illinois, and I am in Fatima's lab. And I've got some comments about this title about please pick up that darn phone. It comes from a comedy sketch from, it was on the radio that I heard, and the guy had tinnitus and he attributed it to a phone and he kept telling his kids to pick up the phone, but it's actually tinnitus. So, I'd like to give everybody an overview of what I'm going to talk about today. First I'm going to talk about what is tinnitus, where it may be located, why it ranges from mild to severe, and some results from our research. So to start, what in the world is tinnitus? Well, often when people come to my posters, they'll say, and I'll say it's tinnitus, they'll say, are you sure I've heard tinnitus? Well, it's either way, tomato, tomato, it's up to you. But there's actually two different types of tinnitus. The objective form, which is the perception of an actual sound, illustrated by the whistle in Shaquille O'Neal's ear, and the subjective sound, which is the perception of a phantom sound that may occur somewhere in the brain, illustrated by the whistle in Shaq's brain. So to get everybody oriented about the slices of the brain that I'm going to show, I have an image of a human ear, and it's showing the most common ways we slice. All the images I'm going to show are on the coronal section, which is if you took somebody and sliced them right along this line. So it's this coronal thing. So this is a diagram of the auditory pathway, starting from the ear, going to the brainstem, up to the auditory cortex. And it's been thought that that subjective tinnitus arises possibly in this pathway. So one of the regions that may be responsible for tinnitus, and that has been shown to be correlated with increased activity and then correlated with tinnitus, is the inferior colliculus, which is located here along the pathway. And then another area that's often seen with tinnitus is hyperactivity in the auditory cortex. And what's interesting, not to say people who have tinnitus have schizophrenia, but individuals who have schizophrenia, they often hear auditory hallucinations. And if you scan them while they're hearing the auditory hallucinations, you'll actually see increased activity in the auditory cortex. So some people have been drawing a similarity between the phantom sound perceived in tinnitus and the phantom noises heard during schizophrenia. But again, people who have tinnitus do not have schizophrenia. It's very, very different. Okay, so that's what tinnitus is. So why in some people is this very severe, and in others, very mild? Well, first of all, it comes down to the way that we measure tinnitus. When we measure tinnitus, we use certain questionnaires, and those questionnaires usually gauge the quality of life and the impact that tinnitus has on your quality of life, such as sleeping habits and attention. And what's interesting that I found when I first came here to be very interesting is that intuitively I thought the louder the tinnitus is, the more severe the tinnitus would be. But that's not the case. Some individuals have very loud tinnitus and it just doesn't bother them that much. Others have very quiet tinnitus and it bothers them a whole bunch. So that may come down to simple personality differences, where an individual may simply be more susceptible to anxiety, more susceptible to depression, and those personality traits may impact the tinnitus severity.